What's up, guys? We're back for another episode of TMP, the Menace Podcast. Today, I have a very special guest, the beautiful Brazilian Natalia Coelho. Natalia, thank you so much for not only coming on the show, but even taking that trip all the way from Florida to come here to talk to me. I really appreciate it.
Yes, it's a pleasure. Finally here because we've been talking about this for a while.
Yes.
But it's a big pleasure and honor to be here today.
Well, the honor is all mine, of course, because number one, you know, I'm a fan of not only female bodybuilders, women physique and figure and all female athletes, but I'm a fan of you, especially because you are a true professional, not only on stage, but also off stage. And I follow and I watch this for quite some time right now, and I really appreciate how you treat your fans, because you're one of I don't want to say very few, but you're one of the few that are they really understand that the fans they do make you and they can break you when it comes to, you know, being active also on social media. So I really appreciate what you do for your fans, and I'm trying to get, you know, to more information out about you and yourself, not only as an athlete, but also who was Natalia growing up, or what did you do as a kid? What other sports were you interested in, or what other sports did you do? So, as I just understood, that you grew up in Rio de Janeiro, one of my favorite Brazilian cities.
Yes, that's right. I mean, I was actually born in New York, and then I moved to Brazil when I was maybe 10 months or 11 months. Before a year old.
So you're born in the United States?
Yes.
Which means you're a U.S. citizen?
I'm American.
Okay,
yes.
okay.
I have both citizenships, Brazilian and American. But then I moved to Brazil, and I was there until like 15 years old. And that's when I came back here, and I've been here since then.
Okay, so you born in New York when your parents took you back to Brazil when you were 10 months old. And so you went to school and everything in Brazil. So in Rio de Janeiro.
In Rio, yes.
So isn't it? I don't know, what's the major sports in Brazil other than soccer? Is there anything else that you were involved in?
Well, I was pretty much involved with any sport that you can think of, but the major was soccer. But I play like basketball, volleyball. I was swimming. I did like ballet. I did everything you can think of.
Did you do anything where you compete as a competitor? Did you as a competitor? Muay Thai.
Yes.
So so you're one of them fighters.
Yes. I mean, I did that for like maybe like very serious for 2 or 3 years. And then that's when I stopped it because I moved here.
So why Muay Thai when you're in Brazil? Why not Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
Because my brother, he used to fight, and he was very, very strong and good with what he was doing. And he would get home, put his gloves on, and just like punch me and do stuff. Oh, let's train. And I'm like, I don't know how to do that. He's like, I will teach you. So I was just like there for him. And I'm like, you know what? I don't want to just be punched. I want to punch you too.
So you were Thai being
more like
a punching bag.
A self-defense thing, you know.
Okay.
So I started doing the same like classes with him. I would go, and there was only like males there. And I didn't care. Like I would go there and get punched on the face and everything. And I'm like, that's hard, but I'll get better, you know. Like I think that's how we get stronger.
Right.
But I just love it, the whole thing, you know. I was seeing like changes in my body. I was feeling stronger, and I'm like, okay, that's nice.
Were you ever in a real fight?
Well, only with females, of course.
Like, but you in a real like a real cat fight,
yes.
So you probably had a major advantage over those girls knowing Muay Thai.
Well, they were in another level than I was. I was just starting.
Oh,
so they were, like,
so you fought with other martial artists.
Yes. Not with just regular people, like.
But I'm not talking like as a competitor or as on a what they call them a tournament. I mean like a street fight. Did you end up in?
No, never.
Never been in a street
fight.
Like
that, no.
Okay, no, I'm just asking because to me you look like a girly girl.
Yeah.
You don't look like a tomboy or one of them girls that climb the trees as kids.
No.
You know what I mean, and start fights with everybody and Okay, so awesome. So Muay Thai was the beginning, and then you also play soccer, you said?
Yes, I play soccer since I was like a little kid, like maybe 3-4 years old. I was always with a ball, like running everywhere. That's like normal in Brazil. You can play well or not, but everybody, all the kids would play soccer. So in school, we have like physical education. Everybody has to play soccer. Everybody learns to play soccer.
Oh, so that's mandatory?
That's mandatory, yes.
Okay.
So I learned all the rules and everything, how like soccer is, and I was playing, but I actually enjoy playing soccer. So I did like outside school, I also would go to soccer like class.
So like a club.
Yeah. on Mondays.
So it's not like in the U.S. I know this from Germany. If you want to play on a team, you have to join a club.
A club.
There's not schools don't provide teams like that. They might have a soccer team, but they don't really play nationally. It's always the clubs in the cities.
Yes. So like they do have in schools, but it's something like out of school. Like if you want to do like a professional, if you want to go there just to play soccer, you got to go to a club.
Right.
And I would do that like Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 3 times a week. I would play soccer, and I would love like literally 2 hours playing soccer nonstop.
Yeah,
I love it.
So at 15, you guys moved back to the U.S. Did your parents move back here, or did you move back by yourself?
So when I was 13 to 14, we came here just for vacation, and it was like, let's go to Disney, have some fun or whatever. And we came, but I didn't know that my mom was looking at houses. She didn't tell me anything.
Oh, so she surprised you.
Yeah, so I was literally just, okay, I'm at Disney, and sometimes we would go to the park, and she wouldn't go. She was looking for houses, and I didn't know. She's like, no, I'm going to stay here today. Just go, you guys, you and your brother, and everybody was with us. We had some family who came over. And she was looking at houses and having some plans in mind, and she wouldn't share with us. So when we were in the plane coming back, she's like, so did you guys like the trip? And I'm like, yeah, it was fun, Disney and, parks.
Of course, who doesn't like Disney, yeah.
Right. And she's like, oh, nice, because we might be moving here. And I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, yeah, in 2 weeks. I'm like,
she said,
I thought she was joking.
So she basically told you on the plane back, when we get back, you pack your clothes.
Right. And I'm like, okay, she's not serious, because my mom is always joking. If you know her, she's like all the time, like making up something to make you laugh. And I'm like, okay, mom, now serious. Why are you saying that? She's like, because this time I'm serious. And I was like, so I have 2 weeks to decide what I'm gonna do. And she's like, yes. I mean, your father's in Brazil. They divorced.
Okay.
So my father still lives in Brazil. My mom lives here. And she's like, you have the option if you want to stay with your father. It's gonna hurt, but I understand. And I'm like, you're asking me to choose between my mom and my father? She's like, no, I'm not asking to do anything. I'm just giving you the options.
Right.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's gonna be hard. And my father was like, no, don't go, stay here. Your friends are here, your family's here, your school's here.
That must have been really hard.
Very hard. And everything was there. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. And my brother's like, what should we do? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm just a kid. I don't know if I go, if I stay. And I'm like, I had like literally 14 days to decide what I was going to do. And school year there finished in December. Here, it finishes in the middle of the year.
May, yes.
May, right? So I'm like, I'm going to stop in the middle. Like, I have to wait until December to finish my year there.
Right.
But if I move to United States, they're going to be almost at the end of... It was just a mess.
So your mom didn't consider the school?
She did. She had a job opportunity here.
Oh, so she had to go.
And I'm like, my mom always did everything for her kids. Literally. It's beautiful to hear the things that she's done for us. And I didn't want to come. It was like not the worst decision, but a very tough decision for me to make. Because I love Brazil. I was born, I grew up there. I was raised there. And honestly, I stopped it and I thought to myself, my mom did so much for me. I'm not going to let her just go to another country by herself. Like that wouldn't be me. I don't do that. Like I'm very like a hard person, Like when you are in my circle, I will do any and everything for you. So I'm like, Mom, I'm going to say that, but it's against my will. I don't want to do it, but I will do it because I'm never going to leave you alone.
So she was happy.
And she's like, but I want to see you happy. I don't want you to come just to make me happy. And I'm like, I will be happy because I will be close to you. And if you're happy, I'm happy. It's like a mutual thing,
Right.
And we have a saying since we were very young that we always told each other, together forever, no matter what.
So, but before you left, were your parents already divorced?
They were.
So you stayed with your mom in Brazil?
I stayed with my mom.
So it was not as hard as if you would have stayed with your dad this whole time and you had to leave your dad. Okay, so it was a little easier.
It was a little easier, but it's just like, I think the hardest part is to know that you are away, because there it's like if I need my father, I call him, he's here. Every weekend, like one weekend I would be in my mother's house, the next weekend
Okay.
would be with him. It's like alternating. But in the weekdays I would be with my mom. So it's always hard, when you're kids and you have divorced parents and you have to, it's like a ping pong. You go and you go back.
Right.
But I was happy. I never complained about anything. I always understood, because some kids don't understand. My brother had a very hard time. And like even nowadays, he's like, no, family, mom and father are supposed to be together. Kids are supposed to live with both of them. I understood that it was better for my mom, for my father. They were happier away from each other. And I would see that, like, when you get home and you see that your mom's not happy and your father's not happy, and the kids can feel it. But when you get home and you see the energy, you feel like, okay, everybody's happy.
And they were good co-parenting. There was no bad words from each other.
No, like even nowadays they're friends.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah, so I think that's the most important thing, when you do what is best for you, even though it can have like some consequence. Everything has consequence in life,
Yeah.
But
sometimes you have to make a mistake to learn something.
Yes.
Right.
And the hardest part out of all the situation was to move here and not know a word in English.
So you had to not only learn the language, you had to learn new friends. I know exactly where you're going with this, because I can relate, because I had to do the same thing a couple of times. So you came to America. Did your brother go, or did he stay with your dad?
So both of us came, but now my brother is back to Brazil, living there. He went back 2 years ago. He couldn't stay. He's like, no, this is not for me. This is not the country. That's not the life I want. So initially, we were going to move here just to graduate high school and try to improve the English, understand English a little bit more, and see how my mom's job would go. And I'm like, okay, it's an experience. If it doesn't work, I come back, Like nothing in life is settled. You got to try. You got to go out and give it, live life. And I'm like, you know what? God knows what he does. He's putting this in my life for a reason. I'm going to go and I'm going to see how it goes. And nowadays, when I look back, I could not be more thankful, because I only found myself when I moved here. I was already like into bodybuilding a little bit. I would like watch bodybuilding competitions and podcasts and all the 90s, To me, like the 90s were the best time ever, the golden era. But I was already into that looking. And in Brazil, it wasn't like it's not very common, like bodybuilding, and people wouldn't understand, especially me. I was like a young girl, and they're like, what are you doing? Like, they didn't understand. So I was doing that to myself, and I would keep it to myself. What I mean by that is like, I would go to the gym. I was literally studying all the human body. I would buy anatomy books, physiological books, like understanding how the body works, and nutrition and everything. And I would start like, if you go to my room, you would see a lot of papers on the wall, and you would see like a human body. With it was a body, but it was Dorian Yates on the wall. He was like doing the back double biceps, and I would literally spend hours and hours looking at
just looking at physiques
and seeing like the fibers and everything. And I'm like, it is possible. How can I do that? But I didn't know how to get there. So I was just trying to study. And
so you were inspired by a male bodybuilder?
Male bodybuilders, because at the time, I didn't know many like female bodybuilders. And it was actually the time that the female bodybuilder was removed from the Olympia. So it was kind of like fading down a little bit. Of course, Linda Murray, Rachel, and all these big names that I am such a big admirer, they were out there, but I would always watch the guys training and all that stuff. I don't know, like maybe because they had more volume, more muscle.
No, I totally understand, because, you get motivation from seeing the guys training. I mean, I would like to see, I would like to know, I would just love to find out, is there any guy out there that gets inspiration of a female bodybuilder?
Oh my gosh, yes. I mean, because the thing.
No, I mean as a man. I said, I want to know if there's a man out there that looks at a female bodybuilder train. Because I tell you, I've been surprised with a few physiques where you look at this girl, I was like, God damn, look at her body, you know. You see, because some girls are more detailed than the guys, you know. So I wonder if there's guys out there that look at female bodybuilders and get motivation to go to the gym.
That would be funny. I mean, I believe there are some, you know, but...
So you have doing in your room, so you finally start training while you're in the States, or have you started before you left?
I've been training for a long time, long time.
So even when you were doing Muay Thai, you were lifting weights?
Yes. I wasn't like as structured as I am, of course, but I would still go to the gym because my mom would go to the gym there and I would go with her.
Okay.
But I wasn't allowed to train because in Brazil, if you're, I think, under 12 or 13, whatever, you cannot train.
You're not allowed to use the weights.
Now they do, but back then they couldn't. And she would put me like in the classes. They have like a lot of volleyball activities and things at the gym. The gym there has 7 floors. The gym that I used to go. So every floor has
an
activity.
Rio?
Yes.
What was the name of the gym?
Companhia Atlética. They still have it. Every time I go there, I train there.
Because I remember when I went to Rio, every time we go to a gym, this is like we got to walk uphill for I don't know how long.
Oh,
and this is what's the name of this gym? Everybody trains there. It's like a bodybuilding gym. You know, it was one floor.
Oh.
I used to train there with Jolan. Okay, so you train in one of the big facilities,
like gym, and we would go there. My mom would go like to the spinning classes and to the weight training lift area, and I would be in the classes, so ballet and things like that. But there are 2 bodybuilders who showed me what bodybuilding were in the time. Isaac and Vinny, they were competing as bodybuilders, and they were always downstairs, which is the weight training area, training at the time of my ballet classes. So my mom would drop me there. I would start the class, say, "Oh, I
gotta go to the bathroom
or something." I would go downstairs
so you could sneak and watch.
watching them, and they're training like beasts.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's so nice. And then one day I would try to do the same thing, like not as heavy, of course, but just the movement and the form and emulate them. And then there would come a personal training. Girl, you cannot be here. You know, you gotta go upstairs. Where's your parents? You cannot be by yourself. And I'm like, I am over 12. They're like, you're not. You're 7. You're 6. You know. And I'm like, no, I am. And they're like, let me see your ID. I'm like, I don't have it with me. So they would kick me out.
You just tried everything to get in and to lift some weights. So where you finally start to lift in the U.S. then, when you came here?
I started training there when I was about 12, 13. Not serious, but when I got here, things got serious. It was like 100% in, like very, very focused. And I would go to the gym, zone out, and I felt so good because it was the place that I didn't need. It's like a universal language. You know, I don't need to know how to speak this language. I don't need to do it. It's just go there. It's me and the weights. And that's all what I needed, you know.
Yeah. And to learn a language at that age, 14, 15, is easy because you're still young. You still pick up real fast. And, you know, you can barely tell you're not from America. So, but and for you must have had it real easy because I could see you right now coming into high school from Brazil, number one. Everybody's already looking. There's a girl from Brazil. They must have went crazy about you in high school. I mean, 15, 16.
It was so hard.
Was it?
You have no idea how hard it was.
The girls probably hated you.
Yes, and they treat me so bad, but I didn't know what they were talking about. And like in Brazil, I've been always like the straight A's student. I was always like studying a lot. I went through a lot of like tough moments before I moved here.
Who gave you the hardest time, the guys or the girls?
You mean here?
Yeah, in the beginning.
The girls.
Girls, because they were jealous, because you're a good-looking girl. There's nothing worse than a good-looking girl joining the class and the guys are all like, wait a minute, all the focus goes from whoever was the best girl in the class to the new girl. It's normal.
Joe Weider's Olympia here in Orlando, Florida.
A little bit strange coming out of Las Vegas for all of those years.
Good evening, and welcome to the event that nearly never happened.
There's been an absence of a particular group of people on this stage that are back tonight. Tonight I'm here to say, welcome back to Miss Olympia.
There's nothing worse than a good-looking girl joining the class and the guys all like, wait a minute, all the focus goes from whoever was the best girl in the class to the new girl. It's normal.
Yeah, maybe that was, but I don't know. But so before I moved here, I had to move from one apartment to another one, which was very far from where I was living before. And I went to live with my grandparents. Me, my mom, and my brother, we moved together, everybody in the same apartment. And we are sharing one room, everybody in the same room. And a very small, literally, we would put sheets to separate my
So you have your own space.
Yes, because I want privacy.
Right.
My brother is also a teenager. He wants his space. So we would just hanging, a sheets between the... And I was already trying to buy my food and do everything prep and studying. And I would hide all my supplements there. So I didn't want anybody to see it.
How were you able to buy that stuff?
Okay, here comes the fun part. My grandmother actually, she didn't want us to go to school because the school that we were going to was close to my older apartment, which is in Barra da Tijuca, and I moved to Ipanema. It's
Ipanema, nice beach.
Yes, close to Copacabana.
Yeah.
So she usually pays a taxi for us to go every day to school until the year was over and see what we're gonna do, move to another school or something. But instead of getting the taxi, I would get in the taxi because she literally puts me inside the taxi. I would turn I don't know,
go around the corner and get out.
Yeah, get out, take a bus and save the money because there we pay cash.
So you had money saved up for all this time.
I was saving every penny to buy my supplements, to buy my food, to do that, so because it is expensive, especially in Brazil. So I wouldn't eat out, and if I didn't have the money to buy the food that I want, I wouldn't eat because I'd rather not have fast food and stuff in my system than just put all this junk in.
Right.
And I knew what was going to happen in my body. And when I talk to people, they're like, no, you're crazy. You're just a teenager, enjoy life.
Right.
And I'm like, that's not how I enjoy life. I have a different approach, a different view. They're like, what do you mean? What are you trying to achieve?
They don't understand.
And I'm like, you won't understand. I wouldn't not even try to explain and waste my time. I'm like, I have a goal and I want to bring my physique to this goal that I have in my mind. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, never mind. So I wouldn't say anything. But everybody's like, oh, Natalia's getting sick. Natalia has mental issues or whatever because it was like, okay, time to eat. I gotta eat. They're like, there's not such a thing. You eat when you're hungry. I'm like, no, not me. And they're like, okay, something is wrong. So I would sleep. I need to get my 6 to 8 hours sleep every night. And people are like, oh, let's go out and party. I'm like, no, I gotta go to bed. They're like, huh? Why? And I'm like, because tomorrow morning I have cardio to do. And they're like, why do you have cardio to do? What for? And I'm like, because I have a goal in mind. They're like, stop that, let's go out. So my friends would force me to go out, and I would go out, and my mind wasn't there. I was just thinking about, oh my gosh, one more hour that I'm not sleeping.
Yeah, you're missing another hour of sleep.
I'm missing my meals. I remember going to parties or something, and I would literally, they had this table with foods and stuff. I would get the sandwiches, get the turkey breast out, and I'm like, okay,
and leave
5 grams of protein, 5 grams, and try to make my meal. But it didn't work out, so...
all this sounds so familiar. I know exactly what you're saying.
How it is?
Yes, exactly.
So that's how it went from getting money, from saving taxi here and taxi there. And I would go to school. I would get a bus 5 a.m. to be in school by 6:30, and class started at 7. And my brother would always be late. So he wakes up 30 minutes before, would get there rushing. But I like to be organized and prepare. I was always the first student in the first class, the first seat, waiting for the professors to arrive. And I've always been a straight A student. So when I moved here, I'm like, wait, how am I going to be a good student if I don't even understand what the professors are saying? I remember my first exam, my first test, I couldn't understand what they were asking. I'm like, how am I going to answer if I don't know what they want to know?
I know exactly where you're going with this because I went through this with my daughter, the same thing.
Yes, right. And I'm like, I don't want to be the bad grade. I don't want to have bad grades. I always hustle so much to have my good GPA and stuff.
And that's why you made it happen, because you found a way to get through it. And my daughter is the exact same. We went through this with her twice. So, she, from Thailand, we were speaking Thai.
Yes.
I speak German, I speak English, but we speak in Thai. So she didn't speak German, nor did she speak English. She understood a little bit, but she didn't really speak. So when we left Thailand, we came to Germany. Now she had to learn German.
Oh, man.
Now she has no idea. And within 3 years, she was fluent, read and write. She was still young. She was, how old was she, like 11? And then we left Germany for the United States. So now she has to do it all over again. So, but now she speaks 3 languages fluently, reads and writes, but I know how hard it is.
And here's the thing, in 5 months, I was understanding everything. And like a lot of people take like years and years. And I know people who are living here for 10 years, they don't speak a word in English.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
But I was so determined to learn that I bought like dictionary, I bought like a lot of stuff to study in my house. And I would like record the lessons or whatever in class. I would listen to that again. I would watch TV and make notes. I was like in the supermarket, I would bring my notebook and see like, okay, this is an apple. And I would say maçã equals apple. Maçã is apple in Portuguese. And I would start like trying to think in English. And every time at home, I wouldn't accept if my mom spoke Portuguese with me. I'm like, don't speak Portuguese. I want to forget that because I need to learn English.
Yeah.
The only way to learn,
I know,
it's by being exposed to it.
I know. Just think about this. Leaving Thailand, she spoke Thai. We get to Germany now, I speak to her only in German. She would answer me only in Thai.
Thailand.
Until she finally, it took, like I said, 2 years until she started responding to me in German. And after 3 years, we spoke German only.
Oh, wow.
And then we left for the United States. Now I'm speaking English to her, and she speaks to me in German.
Wow.
And today we're here for 13, 14 years. She wouldn't speak German to me no more. Now she speaks to me only in English. So we went through 3 languages. She still speaks, but she wouldn't speak. If I speak to her in German, she would answer to me in English, like I do with my dad. Yes. My dad, when I was born and raised in Germany. My dad was in the military. Mom is German, but we stayed off base. So I went through German school. So my first language is German. Okay. I didn't start speaking English until I, told myself, I said, I got to go to America to see my grandmother, and start to speak English. So, and to this day, if me and my dad, I call him right now, I speak to him in German.
Really?
Yeah, because he was so busy learning German that, we forgot to learn English, and English in school in Germany is not the same. You have 1 hour a week of Oxford English where...
Same thing.
Terrible. Awesome. So now you're in high school. Boys probably go nuts. And you are training. And when was the first time you thought about competing? How long? Because people don't understand. Before you say that, I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off, but you're only like 24 years old now?
Yes.
Because when we talk about this, it sounds like this is so long ago.
Yeah,
it's not even that long ago. So it's only like 10 years, not even 10 years.
Yeah. So when I moved here, I was every day going to the gym, and I didn't have a car. I didn't have like a way to get to the gym. So I was saving my pennies to get a bicycle. I got a bicycle, and I would go every day to the gym, riding my bicycle every day at the same time. I am still that way, very, very meticulous. So I would go to the gym every day at the same time. And there was a guy there. His name is Wade. He's a bodybuilder, old school bodybuilder. He was always there at the same time as well. And he was always watching me. And then one day he came to me, he's like, girl, come here. He's like, these like black guys, like big. And he's like, what are you training for? And I'm like, huh? And I didn't speak English at the time. And I'm like, no English. and he's like, don't come with this BS to me.
Really?
What are you training for? And I'm like...
So he saw the talent right there. He thought you training for a show.
But I didn't know what he was talking about. And I was like, yes. All the time, like in school, and when people talk to me and I didn't know, I would say yes or okay.
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 Yes. And he's like, this is not a yes question. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, yeah, this conversation is not going to go far.
Yeah.
And he'd just walk away. And then the next day, he would come again. What are you training for? And I'm like, this guy already asked me that, and I don't know what he said.
Right.
So one day my mom was at the gym, and then he came talk to me, and I'm like, no, wait. I'm like, Mom, what is he saying?
What does
Can
he
you talk
want?
to him?
Yes.
So my mom went there, and she's like translating and trying to help me. And then she's like, he's asking if you're competing. And I'm like, competing what?
How old were you?
I was 14.
14 years old. You in the gym.
In the gym and training, like, and he's like, no, because you're always like so focused, and I watch you and you're like zone out, like you don't talk to anyone, you go to set, you're always looking at your watch. I'm like, yeah, because I have to rest between sets. Like nowadays I can rest and I know exactly.
So you have an idea, you don't have to look at the, okay, 60 seconds, let's go.
But in the beginning I was like, no, 45 seconds to 1 minute, because Jay Cutler trains like that. So I would do the same thing. I would watch Dennis Wolf videos as well. I was just like totally into it, studying all the bodybuilders, all their lifestyles, and trying to emulate and learn from them.
Right.
So he asked me that, and I'm like, I'm not training to compete. I mean, I do what they do because I admire and respect what they do, because it's not for anyone. You need to be driven. You need to know what you want to do, what they do. And he's like, okay, watch this. And he gave me 3 DVDs from Jay Cutler, 2004, 2008. I don't even remember. It's like documentaries. And I was watching it and seeing like him preparing the meals. He's talking about Chris Aceto and his coach and his posing and all that stuff. And I'm like, wow, that's cool. That's nice, you know? And he's like, maybe a month later, he came to the gym. He's like, did you watch the DVDs? I'm like, yeah, like 10 times. And he's like, cool, I'm going to bring you to a show. I'm like, what show? He's like, Europa Games in Orlando. You're going to watch the show with me. And then I'm like, okay, yes, I will go. And I got home, I'm like, Mom, I'm going to a show with Wade. She's like, what do you mean, a guy?
Yeah, what do you mean? A guy, how old is he? You're 14 years old. You ain't going nowhere.
He's like, I don't know, 50, 60s. And she's like, you're not going nowhere. You don't even speak English. You don't know. If something happens, how am I going to know? She's like, I'll go with you. I'm like, okay, you can come. So we went to the show, and he brought his son. He was trying to train his son to compete. But his son, I'm sorry if he's probably going to be watching this, but his son was kind of lazy and didn't want to do all the work.
You don't have to be sorry. It's not your fault he's lazy.
So, and Wade was always trying to make him have the drive that I had. And he's like, you know what? I bring you, he told his son, I bring you to the gym every single day, and I'm here like forcing you to do stuff. Look at her. She's training harder than you. I'm going to help her. I'm not going to help you. And he's like, what? So we start training together, me, him, and his son, and like doing legs and stuff. And I would go more than his son or something like that.
So you basically lift heavier and better than the boy.
He wouldn't even be heavier. Sometimes he would make me like fall off, like doing lunges non-stop for I don't even know how many minutes without any weight. So he got me to the failure without the weights. He's like, we need to build your foundation.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense to put a lot of weight. You're going to have injuries and nothing's going to happen. So I remember like personal trainers coming to me. They're like, no, 8 to 10, 10 to 12. And the weight is like, shut up. You're going to do 5 minutes nonstop. And I'm like, but that's like 300 reps. And he's like, yeah, I don't care. I don't count. And I remember one day he told me, go do abs. I'm like, okay, how many sets? He's like, 1 hour. I'm like, huh? 1 hour nonstop. I'm like, what are you talking about? How do you do 1 hour? He's like, I come back in 1 hour. And I'm like, I cannot stop in 1 hour? He's like, no. Why would you stop? And I'm like, oh my gosh.
He was real old school.
He was. That's what I'm saying. So like, I learned from the roots.
Right.
I learned what is old school. And everybody in this area now, it's all about like trying to find, I don't know, like shortcuts.
Yeah.
But I don't like that. I go back to everything that you guys did. I watch a lot of your videos.
Yeah.
I watch a lot of things. Like I saw like you prepping and the focus that you had. I could see in your eyes how much you want that, you know.
Oh yeah. That's why I can relate to you, and that's why I'm so happy to see you, because I know you still do your cardio every day. After the Olympia, it wasn't over for you. It was just the start for this year, you know. And you don't see that too often. Everybody says, I work hard. Nobody works harder than me. But you don't see it from everyone. You can see certain people just do things. They go an extra mile to make the necessary improvements. And just like you explained, like you've been since you were a little kid, this will be with you forever. And this is why you are where you are today. Because you're 24 years old. How many Olympias did you do total?
6.
It's 24 years old. She did 6 Olympias already. Who can say that?
Right.
6 Olympias. That means your first Olympia you did at 18 or 19?
19.
So when did you turn pro?
19. The same year that I turned pro.
So
I
you
was
turned
qualified for
pro
Olympia.
and went straight and won your first show.
I won the Nationals 2015, Miami, and then
And that was figure, correct?
that was figure. And then I competed in my first Olympia. My first 2 Olympias were figure, and then I switched to women's physique.
When did you switch? What year did you switch?
2017 or 18.
What made you decide to switch from figure to physique? What was the reason?
Well, so my first Olympia, I was super. Oh my gosh, there were even the first place, a finisher, she wasn't happier than I was. Because to be 19 and be on that stage and knowing the history of the sport, knowing what it means to be on the Olympia stage, like I remember everything that Joe Weider taught all his athletes. I would be like, I'm gonna go on this stage and I'm gonna make Joe Weider proud. And people are like, who's Joe Weider? And I'm like, you're competing here. You're like much older than me.
Yeah.
You don't know who Joe Weider is.
On the Olympia stage?
Yeah, backstage,
That's sad.
talking to the girls. They're like, yeah, whatever. I'm like, you don't understand what the sport is about. But it's okay. So I'm like, I'm gonna go there and make him proud. And they're like, Joe Weider don't even know who you are. I'm like, I don't care, but I know who he is. So I would go on stage and step on that stage and look up and say, he's watching me. You know, like I'm making him proud. Anyway, so I got 15th at my first
It
Olympia.
was your first Olympia. You got your feet
But
wet.
Ronnie Coleman got 15 at his first Olympia. Jake Elliott too. So why not, like, why couldn't
My first Olympia, I got 11th.
you
But
see?
there were only 13.
Only 15.
So I'm about to
They
say,
had
but-
16. So I got 15th, and I'm like, okay, my first Olympia. I'm 19. I'm just starting.
But you on the Olympia stage. You are
Exactly.
an Olympian, which will
Oh my God.
nobody ever be able to take away from you.
Listen, I went out of the stage, and my mom was outside there, like, oh, poor Nat. You know, she's gonna come super
Oh,
sad.
she thought she had to. Oh, yeah.
She
You
thought
were
I was
happy.
gonna be upset. I went out like hugging her, like jumping up and down. She's like, do you realize that you placed 15th?
Don't
And I'm
matter.
like, do you realize where I am? Do you realize what it means to me?
Do you realize how many people have been on that stage?
Yes. And I'm like, Mom, that's first place to me. It doesn't matter the trophy right now. What matters is the honor to be here.
That participation medal.
Yes.
You know?
It's on my wall.
Mine too, all of them.
All of them. And then she's like, okay. So she was giving the news to everybody in Brazil, all my family. They're like, oh, tell her I'm sorry. She's like, well, I'm not going to say that because she's super happy.
Yeah.
So nobody understood, but it's something that is in my heart, something that I could understand. And then next year, I came back and I played 16th, one position lower, literally last place. And I'm like, okay, there is something. I want to understand why I'm not doing better, because my conditioning wasn't on point. I saw all the striations in my quads. I saw like
Maybe that's why.
that was why. And I'm like, you know what? Let me talk to Steve. Let me talk to Sandy. Let me understand what's going on so I can come back better. And I talked to them, and even Bob backstage, Cicciarello, he told me, he's like, Natalia, in figure, maybe they're penalizing you because they are seeing too much. And I'm like, okay, let me talk to them. So Sandy, I talked to her on the phone the night after the Olympia. I'm like, I was still super happy and excited to be the Olympia because it was my life. And I'm like, Sandy, I just would like to hear from you, from someone who's been around for so long.
And she knew exactly who you were, and she could tell you exactly what was going on.
Exactly.
That's so
Right.
special about her.
Right. And she's like, Natalia, once you understand that figure is not about the striations, the feathers, if we put you even in the first call out and compare you with the other girls, you're going to stand out because you have this and they don't have. But that's not the criteria for figure. So I will give you 2 options. Either
Soften
you
up.
step back, soften up, bring your body fat higher, do less cardio or whatever, or step up and try women's physique. And I'm
Doing less was not an option. You got to
and
keep going.
I'm like, I would never go to the gym, step in the gym and think,
I'm too
today I'm going to do 7% of my best. Never in this world.
So that was your decision. I said, I'm going women physique, go all out.
And I'm like, but Sandy, I don't want to get any bigger. I don't want to like lose my femininity. And I had this wrong idea of what women's physique was
You
about.
thought you had to get big and buff.
And a lot of girls do think like that.
Yeah.
So this is good for them. It's a good lesson for them to understand that you do not need to be big. It's all about proportion, symmetry, and the flow of your physique. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to do a women's physique show just like I am. I'm not going to get any bigger. I'm not going to change anything.
Just change the suit and the poses.
Yes, just learn the poses and see how it goes. So 4 weeks later, I was on stage and I won my first women's physique show.
Qualified for the Olympia again.
And I'm like, wait, I just did a show, the Olympia, got last place, did another show, got first place. And then my coach was like, well, maybe it's just like different judges panel or whatever.
No, that was just a different category.
I'm like, no, let's do another show to make sure. I did another show, I got first place. I'm like, just one more. So we kept
How
going.
many shows did it take for you to know this is for you?
Well, by the second show, I knew it was for me. And I was feeling like in my heart, the women's physique thing, like I was loving the category. And I'm like, I want to represent the category. I want to show people who had the same idea that I had, that it's not about getting big, 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 but it's about like the whole package.
The beauty with muscle,
Yes.
yeah.
And like everybody that I would talk to, they would tell me, no, like the girls don't look girly anymore.
Because they forget that there's a difference still between female bodybuilding and physique. And I understand there's a few physique girls that are just too big for physique, but bodybuilding wasn't around anymore, so that's the only option they had. But, there's a few that probably went overboard with a lot of things. And then, and you get to a certain point where your body's it's just done. There's no way of going back. Mm-hmm. That's why, people like you represent the sport. And also, Shanique was, when you look at her shape, I mean, that was, for me, that was physique right there. I mean, she wasn't as hard as most other girls, but her shape carried her for, 2 titles. So you did the Physique Olympia the first year. Where did you place?
Second.
So you got second place. And how ecstatic were you after that show compared to the 16th or whatever, 15th place at the other Olympia?
I think I never cried more. It's like, I didn't know how to put my emotions out, I was just
and you're still a young girl. I mean, you're still young.
Yes, and I was like, I'm so close. And like, Shanique we did the Arnold before that, and she got first, I got second. We did the Olympia, she got first,
so you guys were,
I'm like, okay, so that's a little battle right here. So the next year, I finished the Olympia, and I'm like, next show is going to be the Arnold. I got to the Arnold, got first place. So I won the Arnold. And then I did another show after the Arnold, the St. Louis, got first place. And all the shows that I was doing in women's physique, I was getting first or second place. So when I got to the Olympia, I was like right behind her again. And I'm like, okay, I'm always very close to her. Let me see what I can improve. Of course, there are some genetics roles that play a part, but it's not all about that, because you see like how Jay beat Ronnie. So Jay was always almost there, but there is a time that things change.
Yeah, well,
and I knew
if the champ is not on, if he's off, he's off. I mean, that's just, and that's what happened last year.
Yeah.
So what do you think happened last year for Shanique not winning the Olympia and placing second and you placing third? What do you think happened?
Well, I heard a lot of things about what people are saying that she
what do you see? What do you see from your perspective? I want to know what you were thinking.
I honestly just think that Sarah was at her best. Maybe Shanique looked good. Like I saw her backstage. I was right next to her. I think her package and her structure, her waist is super tiny. But things change, and I think the judges have to judge what they see. They saw a better package overall in Sarah, whatever. But I don't understand. Like, I think that's something that only the judges can really tell you, because my opinion here is just different look. Sarah has a different structure than Shanique. You cannot compare Shanique. Shanique has a very special, package.
Unique. She's very unique when you look at the proportions, the muscle bellies on a female with this super tiny waist that looks almost like it's fake.
Yeah.
If that's on a picture only, and you don't see in person, you would say that's photoshopped.
And just like other people told me, and I agree, it's not just about that, it's the whole thing. How are you representing the sports, and how is your whole package? And sometimes that plays a role.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to the judging panel, but that's what they told me.
Okay.
That's what I think that it's just a different look. They went to Sarah's because of her overall package.
What do you think they did? Why didn't they go to you since you were the next in line?
I would like to know too.
You never asked anybody?
I asked them. I always get like feedback from
What
the
was
judges.
it? I would like to know, what was it that made her beat you that day? Because you were in shape.
I was in shape. They just said her package was on point, and I'm like, okay, but
So now are they looking for a female women physique to be super shredded? Because I remember when I started,
so
when the slogan was separation but no striation. So
And
all that
she
changed?
had it. Yeah. The thing is, like, the previous year when I was placing second to Shanique, all the feedback was you have a lot of striations on your glutes, and that is that's insane. Like, not even guys can get that to that point. So to see the striations in your glutes, if we reward you for that, all the women's physique competitors will think that's the standard. They will think they need to have the striations in the glutes to win. So we're not giving you the first place right now. But Sandy told me straight up, she's like, come a little softer in your glutes, and you have the chances to be the champion. You have the potential to beat Shanique. And I'm like, okay, so that's what I did. And then we see the champion with striations in the glutes. So I don't know, like.
So you asked them, why did I place second? Or did you go and ask, what do I have to do in order to win?
What I need to do. I don't care. Like, I play second, it's gone.
It's gone, right.
Forwards, and I want to see what I can improve. So that's what I asked her. And she told me about the symmetry in my body. Just make sure your proportions on points and everything. I'm like, okay, good. So at the Arnold in 2020, last year, I made the changes that they told me, got first place, second win at the Arnold, and Sandy said everything looks perfect. Like, you fix what you need to fix, bring the same package to the Olympia. Steve told me the same thing, Tyler, Tamer, all the judges. I think I never got such a good feedback from a show as the Arnold, because usually after show they tell you, oh, it's good, but, be careful with the quads, be careful with the feathers. And my problem was always going, like, being too shredded, like striations, feathers, be careful with how hard you come a little softer. And this time, after the Arnold, they didn't say any buts. All of them gave me the same feedback, so I was feeling so, like, fulfilled, like, okay, I accomplished what I needed. So I brought the same package to Olympia. Honestly, I was super happy with the package I brought. I was conditioned, but I wasn't too much. I had some striations, but you couldn't see as much, just like Sandy asked me to bring. So overall, I'm happy, and I think it's just a matter of time. I know my time's gonna come.
I know.
And God, it's watching everything that I do. So I believe everything happens for a reason. If I'm not there yet, I know I'm getting closer, and I know I'm learning the process, and the most important, I'm enjoying the process. You're never gonna see me, like, talking bad about the judging. You're never gonna see me talking bad about athletes or whatever. I see some athletes trying to, make these little fights with me. I just don't get into that. You know why? Because your mind is the most powerful thing in the world, not only in bodybuilding, but anything you do in life. When you say something, either if it's positive or negative, it has 10 times more power than if you think. So think about that. If I believe that I'm an Olympian, if I believe that I'm going to win the Olympia, just by saying that loud and repeating that to myself, I'm making it more possible. It's like making whatever you say get closer to the goal that you want to go. It's the same thing with negative thoughts. If you have a negative thought, you're going to a bad situation in your life.
Yeah, and if you think about it all the time, it's going to happen.
You're thinking, and okay, it can happen, but now if you say it loud, it's 10 times more powerful. So you're just like setting yourself towards the wrong situation. You have to say what you want to achieve.
Right.
And that's one thing that I always did. Like, even if you watch, like, in the old school bodybuilder, like, videos and stuff, you see, like, the people training and saying, you can do it. One more, you can do it. Because when you say it, you make it happen. So that's one thing that I always try to study as well, the mind power. And it's something that I got into when I moved here. Like I said, I would get my bike, go to the gym, zone out. And when I was riding my bike, I was thinking about what am I going to train? What are the... Like, I was literally having a vision of what I was going to do.
Right. You visualized your career. I mean, and just listening to you saying all this at 24 years old, where other girls they're still wet behind the ears. You know what I mean? They don't even know the difference between New York or New Year. And you're already sitting there talking like someone that's been around for 50 years doing it. You know, it's unbelievable. And I believe, I'm convinced that you are the next in line. And I think that you're being watched. They watch your personality, they see how you interact, they see how you take defeat. Even though for others, second place or third place would be a win. It's defeat because you didn't win the Olympia, but you take it like a champ.
People who don't respect the sport do that. Have you seen like how people get out of the stage, they throw their trophies out?
Yes, I see that many times.
I'm like, you're crazy. My 16th place medal is on my wall with like, it's framed and all this stuff. And I look at that and I don't know how people can be like that. You have to understand that it's okay. Sometimes you place higher, sometimes you place lower. But why are you doing that? Do you love what you do? Do you have passion for what you're doing? And that's what it's missing, you know?
Yeah, and that's the difference between you and some others. I mean, because you coming from Brazil, plays dead last, and you just keep going and you show the world that anything is possible, you know? Others, they have the genetics and they basically win the show, and all of a sudden they lose and retire. That's the difference between a warrior spirit and I think and somebody that, you know, don't understand that anybody is beatable, you know, even though most people that saw the Olympia last year didn't think that Shanique should have lost. But hey, the important persons are the judges that sit in the front of the stage, they make the decision. And sometimes you got to take a decision like a champ, you know. I mean, I look at Phil Heath, last year's Olympia, who came back. I mean, I've never seen him so confident. He was confident that he's going to come back, he's going to be at his all-time best, and he's going to win number 8. And when I saw when he got third, how he took that, because he wasn't like that when he got second to Sean Roden. You could see in his face that he was, no, he took it, you know, because I think he learned a lot from not always winning. You know, because when you're used to winning, sometimes it's hard when you get beat all of a sudden, and you have to understand now you have to hold your head just as high, you know, as when you're winning, you know. So I think you have a great future. I'm sure. I say it right now. I'm looking in the camera. This will be the Women Physique Olympia champ, the youngest one. No, Shanique was also your age.
She's older than me, but just by a few months, I believe.
I know, but she already won 2. So
yeah,
yes, she's the youngest one.
She is.
But you're going to follow in her footsteps. I mean, no disrespect to Sarah. She's an awesome athlete. But I think with you, she has a very, very tough competition that's very hard to beat because you're also very consistent. So what is your game plan for this year?
Olympia, here we go.
I know, but what's your game plan? What are you working on now to make sure you come out on top?
Well, as I told you, it's not just about the physique, because the physique is there. I'm working on my mind a lot. I've been always like that. And I believe that's what makes you go the extra mile. It's when you have a mindset, a strong mindset. But in terms of physique, like my off season is not even off season because I'm always on.
You're always in shape.
Yes, because like I study gut health. And that's something that I'm very big into. And I understand that everything that I put in my body is going to have a consequence. It's gonna go somewhere. Mm-hmm. So I know more than just most like regular people. So every time, like, I'm very conscious of what I do, even like products that I put in my skin and everything. And that helps me a lot in terms of staying consistent, staying on point, and knowing the human science and everything else. So my off season is always like, literally, I eat the exactly same diet, exactly same source of foods, but the numbers change.
You just eat a little bit more.
Yeah. And people are like, how can you be eating like that for like 9 years now, 10 years? And I'm like, because I have a goal. I'm not doing that for pleasure. I'm doing that because for function.
And the food tastes good if you do it the right way. It's not like I've never had a problem eating my food. I love my food.
Right? Like yesterday, like I told you, I got here, I went straight to the Whole Foods, and I'm like, I need to buy my broccoli. My mom is like, Natalia, you had broccoli a few hours ago. Wait until tomorrow. I'm like, no, I need my broccoli. So I drove 40 minutes to get broccoli. Who does that,
Yeah, me.
Yes, we do. So little things like that make a difference. But I think, honestly, people have to start doing more of what they love, not doing things for, like social media and stuff like that. It's good. But
you're very big on social media.
I am, but
you reply to everybody. I mean, when I see you, people can talk to you anytime and you would reply. You take literally time out of your day to reply to people online. And you probably have an idea how many people you inspire and how many lives you change by doing that. But you know that the more you do it, it's going to get worse and it's going to get more and more. How do you deal with that? How do you deal with everybody expecting, and and they write to you and you reply, that's a sign for them. You reply, so they won't stop.
Yes, I think the first thing is it's a sign of respect, because if they take their time to talk to me, I feel the obligation. I feel I need to get back to them. I need to take a few minutes and give back to them, especially because the fans make the sport.
I know, but if you have 200-300 messages,
I will do my best to answer everyone. Okay. You know why? You do the same thing. You do your lives.
That's why I do the lives, because I don't have the time to. Because when you answer someone, he's going to have another question tomorrow. So if it's 100 today, and it's going to be the same 100 again, and then there's 100 new ones, it's 200. And so it just gets more and more. So I do the lives. So I know when I answer 10 or 15 questions, whatever I do, I know there's at least 20 others that had the same question in mind. So therefore, it's easier for me, it takes an hour or two a day, but if I would have to write all these messages, it will probably take 5.
But how many people are doing what we do? It shows that, because a lot of people, a lot of athletes especially, they finish their career, they retire, and they're just like, oh, I'm gone. I don't want to see that anymore.
No.
But when you have the passion that you have, and that very few athletes really love what they do, they are always in this environment. They find something to do in the industry to give back.
And it was the same. I was just like you, just the male version. I had a plan for every day. Whatever I did, there was a serious thought behind it, And I also told myself after I retired, I said, I'm not going to retire and just disappear into wherever and people forget who you are. I said, I worked too hard to get there. So let me just not take advantage, but let me use all those years I put in and try to give back as much as possible.
I admire that so much.
Well, you'll do the same. Listen, guys. I literally had to tell her to stop answering all the questions when I'm doing a live, and then she's on, and everybody's like, "Oh, Natalia," and just start talking to her, and I'm, wait a minute, I'm trying to talk to people, and I was like, I should just give up the channel.
No.
But that's who you are, and that's why I know you're going to go a very long way. You're going to be somebody similar to Rami, but you have more chances of getting back to people because you understand English, you speak, you can read and write the language. For Rami, it's not that easy, but he's just like you, the personality. He's just nice to everyone. Yeah. There's no, when you smile all the time, you look great. Number one, you look great, and you represent the sport. And I'm sure once they choose you to be the champ, you will be the champ for a very long time. I put this on paper. I even said, I told her, remember I told you, if you win the Olympia this year, I will bring you to Germany for my show.
How can I forget?
I already have the poster made with her on the poster.
With me, yeah.
I can't post it right now because I don't want to jinx it.
Yeah.
But if you win the Olympia, it goes out the same night,
I get goosebumps when they say that.
So I'm really rooting for you. I want you to win so bad, it's not even funny no more. Now, how did your mom or your friends and your family, how did they react after you basically are one of the top competitors now, and you're going into Olympia this year? Did your friends, and the family and your friends, they're supporting you?
Now, yes, they do.
Before they didn't?
But in the beginning, when I told you that I went through a lot of tough times, I wasn't kidding. I was like, okay, so when I first started, my father is in Brazil. My mom brings me to United States, far from him, and then he receives the news that his daughter wants to be a bodybuilder. And he's like, what is a bodybuilder?
So he was worried?
And he's like, you're going to become a man. What are you trying to do with your body?
That's what a man look like. That's all right with me.
And I'm like, no, let me educate you about what bodybuilding is.
It's just what people think is so stupid.
But he didn't want to be educated.
He didn't want to hear it.
He was just like, no, like, this is weird. My grandfather is from Navy. He's a Navy admiral. And he's like, he doesn't understand, like, how are you going to do that? So everybody was like trying to bring me out of this goal that I had. And I'm like, guys, I've been doing what I've been doing for a long time, but I just didn't say why I was doing that. When I was like putting these things on my wall, studying and doing all this stuff, trying to understand the human body, it's because what I learned, I can apply to myself. And they're like, Natalia, you're going nuts. What are you talking? Anyway, so.
Do you get reactions? Sometimes I ask the same question to Andrea Shaw. Do you sometimes get stupid reactions when you go somewhere and, you know, when you wear clothes and the people see, you know, the muscular shape and everything? Do you sometimes get stupid reactions? Is it mostly girls?
Honestly, most of the times it's not a weird reaction, but they're like, can I touch it? Or things like that. Like, is it real? And I'm like, okay, I like that. It means that they're recognizing my, you know, my hard work. And I always talk to them, and I almost, like, always nice to them.
How hard is it to choose what you wear when you go out?
It's not.
Don't you try 4 or 5 different outfits, and then you double check, take the little mirror, look at the back, make sure the back is right?
Oh, yes, that is true. No jeans. I cannot use jeans because it doesn't fit. It's like my quads, and then...
You don't have them stretch jeans that you can wear?
I do, but I prefer the leggings, just like regular leggings and stuff. Anyway, so yeah, in the beginning it was very hard because I had to educate them and make them understand that you can be feminine, you can, you know, still be a girl and compete. But they didn't believe until I showed them, you know.
So now they're okay with you?
Yes. I remember, like, in the beginning, my mom would force me to not study or to go out or to not go to the gym. I remember I was in my room and I had, like, this poster that I was making, like, literally, like, drawing. And she's like, Natalia, enough studying. You've been studying for hours in this room. This is not healthy for you. I'm like, it is healthy because I'm trying to understand and put as much effort as I can now. So in the future, I have everything, like the foundation is all there. I just have to build up. And she's like, what foundation? Like, build up what?
Yeah.
She couldn't understand. And then she's like, okay, you're grounded. Tonight, and she was super serious. Tonight, you're going out. You're going to the cinema. You're going out with your friends. Go, I don't know, watch a movie, do something. Do not come back home until midnight. And I'm like, but midnight is my time to eat. And she's like, bring your meals, do whatever, but do not come back. You know what I did? I sat down in the front of my house and I was sitting down there waiting until midnight to come back home. I'm like, I'm not going anywhere. So there was like a lot of little things like that I would do because she didn't understand what I was doing. She wasn't used to that. She didn't know, like, there was such a thing called bodybuilding, and that's what requires you to do, to be a bodybuilder. But in high school here, my professors, man, they would do everything to make my life harder. It was like time to eat. They wouldn't let me eat. They kicked me out of class.
Oh, do you ask the school if you can eat during class?
Yeah, because you know why? Because I would open my meals and they're like, what smell is that? I'm like, chicken, broccoli. And they're like, you cannot do that in the middle of the classroom. You know, your classmates are trying to focus and concentrate. And I'm like, but they're eating cookies and like all these snacks. They're like, snacks are okay, but not real food. And I'm like, but what is the difference? They're like, well, snacks you eat with your hands. What did I do?
You eat your food with your hand?
I froze all my food, like rice, and I would bite the rice.
No.
So, and I'm like, I'm eating with my hands.
So it's a snack.
It's a snack. So I had to find a way because missing my meals
was not an option.
That was not an option. And still, they didn't accept it. They would kick me out. and I would be outside because I didn't want to miss what they were saying because I was a straight A student. Even here, my GPA is 4.0. I was in honor society, and I was always the first student of the class. I took 5 months to learn the language, but as soon as I learned, I was right there. Like all the exams, everything, I was 100% in. So they would kick me out, and I was eating outside, watching the class through the window. So they would say I was eating and making notes, and I would come back in. And they gave me such a hard time. I remember like going to detention because I ate in class. Have you heard, I don't know if you know that. Of course you do. SAT and ACT, there are some tests to, you know, test your knowledge and stuff that all the high schoolers have to do. And I'm like, oh my gosh, 5 hours eating
no food.
Class. I could not even have my water. And I'm like, I have to find a way to bring my water in. So I got my gallon of water in, and I brought a doctor's note saying that if I don't drink my water,
blood sugar drops.
I'm gonna, that's for the food, that my hypoglycemia and the water, I would get dehydrated, and I had a condition or whatever. My physician signed, my coach signed, and they let me in. And everybody was like, how is she eating and drinking?
So you found a way for everything, whatever. You found a way to get it done.
You gotta do that because there's always if there is a will, there's a way. Always. No matter what.
True. That's what I say always. If there's a will, there's a way.
It is. And then like all this crazy stuff going on, I got detention, and at the detention, I'm like, okay, I got detention for eating, and I was in the detention eating. You know, like, what's the point of, I didn't do anything wrong. I was there just because I ate in class. So many little things that my professors could just accept it, And nowadays, it's funny because I coach some athletes and clients. My physiology professor, who kicked me out of her class, and literally I had to drop her class because I didn't speak English at the time. I'm pretty sure she's going to watch this and she's going to remember. But
yeah, you remember her now, don't you? Huh? You should have let her eat her food.
She's like, the first weeks, I couldn't understand the language. Can you imagine learning like all this physiology, chemistry and stuff?
Yes, I can imagine.
Yeah, you know how it is.
It's like you sit there and you listen to Chinese.
I was looking just at the formulas and stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then she came to me, she's like, are you done with your assignment? And I'm like, I was with my dictionary and trying to translate. And she's like, you cannot be in my class. And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, you cannot even understand English. Go to English class first, then you come back. And I'm like, that's rude. I'm trying. I'm with my dictionary. You're like, translated every word. And sometimes it doesn't make sense in the sentence, but I'm trying to make it work. And she's like, you don't have potential to be here. I don't have time for that.
The teacher said that to you?
She said that. I even went to the director, like, to talk to them. I'm like, she was very rude to me. I'm trying my best. And they're like, well, we don't want you on her class
instead of
anymore.
trying to help, she tried to push you out. Or she did?
Yeah, she literally did. I wasn't allowing her class anymore. She said she didn't want me there.
Well, all these people, whoever has anything negative, or they all see you now, where you at.
She told me, she's like, physiology, anatomy, the human body is very complex. And I'm like, I know. And she's like, so how are you trying to understand how complex the body is if you don't understand what I'm saying, because you don't understand the English? And I'm like, I will understand. And I know what's going on in the body. I just don't know how to explain to you because I don't speak the language. But I have the knowledge.
Yeah.
And she's like, prove to me. And I'm like, I will, but I need time. She's like, I don't have the time. Okay, so she dropped me. And nowadays, like, everything is okay. I'm always like open to, if we had some disagreements or something and you come to me, I will apologize. I believe God's going to like whatever happens in the future is with God. I will do my part and always like open arms to whatever. Of course, I'm not a fool neither, but she came back, we talk, like this was like 3-4 years later. And nowadays she's my client, and I'm like, now I'm teaching her and I'm coaching her, and I help her with like a lot of conditions that she had in the past.
Now you're teaching her.
She had diabetes, we cured that. She had problems with cholesterol. Her cholesterol is back to normal. She feels the best she ever felt. And with my knowledge and my help.
There you go.
And I'm like, you see, like sometimes we treat people bad, but it can come back to you.
Yeah.
So you have to always, I believe in this energy thing, that everything that you put out comes back to you. So it's just like, it's funny to see how life is. Sometimes you're up there, sometimes you're not.
True.
So.
Awesome. Listen, Your story is unbelievable. I got a fan question I got to throw at you.
Okay.
It's one. I chose only one out of all of them I got quite a few, but most of them we already covered. This fan is George from Michigan. He wants to know if you are single.
I am.
And if you are, he said he wants to know why. He wants to know why, because why is she single?
Well,
Before you answer the question, I have an idea. Because the way she's been explaining how she works, she don't have enough time for a dude that's getting on her nerves. So, but I'll let you answer the question.
Well, for many, many months, my belief was that it was a distraction for me. So I had to do my cardio, I had to do all my stuff, and a lot of people don't understand. Even though sometimes they're competitors, why you look at me
No,
like that?
I let you finish it, then I have a question for you.
Okay, so I think by now you can tell that when I do something, I do
Give it 100%.
And I would feel bad if I had a boyfriend and I told him like, sorry, I cannot do this because of bodybuilding. Sorry, I cannot do that because I have to do my cardio. I do not. So in my understanding, it has to be somebody who understands and respects and admires what I do.
So how
and not
how is it possible that, come on, I mean, listen, there's no possible way that guys walk past you, to see you in the gym, that walk past you and don't even try. So there must be 100 guys that probably support exactly what you do, that would help you in any way possible. They wouldn't have a problem with you doing cardio because they would understand, because you're one of the best in the world, soon to be the best. How do you block these guys? I mean, they got to bounce off somehow.
I think it's like most of them, it's not that I block them, but they try, and if they don't get like an answer or a reply in the same language as they're trying something else, they just step back in respect of me.
Okay, so you're talking about online. I'm talking about in person. Nobody in the gym. Wait a minute. Let me ask you a different question.
Okay.
Dude, there's nobody that you ever walk past where you said, damn, he's kind of attractive. That would be my type.
To be honest.
Yeah, I want you to be honest.
At the gym, I don't even look around. Honestly,
really?
Like, I'm training and it's me and the weights. It's just like sometimes I feel bad because people talk like, oh, I saw you at the gym and I waved and you didn't talk to me. And I'm sorry if that happens.
Yeah,
it's just because I don't know. I don't see anything. Like every rep, everything that I'm doing, I'm 100% in, and I'm visualizing me on stage. I'm visualizing what's happening to my muscle. Between sets, I'm stretching so I can get more blood flow to the muscle. I am like posing so I can teach my muscles how to, like, what I'm trying to do. You know, like there's always something in between, and it's just like, this is business for me. So I think
I get it. I get it on one side. On the other side, I think you're 24 years old.
But what I have for this, it's like, I believe I'm going to find...
Maybe you don't like guys.
I like guys.
Okay. Well, that will be the question from the people when they say, oh, maybe she don't like guys, or maybe she's gay.
No,
okay.
I like guys, but it's just a matter
Thank God.
of...
We'll send you all safe. Don't worry about it, guys. She's all right. She's all right. She's just focused.
I dated a bodybuilder before. When I moved here, like maybe 2 years later, I dated him for a while. It was nice. He worked. He was always also in prep. But it's just like, I want to give my 100%, and I felt like I wasn't giving my 100%. He was super happy. It's still like we're super friends now.
Everybody be super happy. Come on now.
But it's
Are you grumpy when you diet? Do you get kind of sometimes? Never.
You know why?
No.
Because I love it. Literally, you are never going to see me complaining about one cardio, one training sessions, or being hungry.
So what would bother you on a person that was with you when you died? What could he do that bothers you?
It's nothing that they do. It's more like...
See, I'm trying to find out what's going on here.
Yes, I think it's like, I'm OCD about what I do. But if you're a bodybuilder, you're supposed to be OCD. You're supposed to understand that every gram counts. So like if I put my oatmeal there and they are like supposed to be 60 grams and they're 62, I take them off.
Yeah, I was the same.
Right? So some people are like, you're too much.
Too much.
You
Yeah,
know?
but that,
like,
do you know why you like that? Because you are not from here. And it's the same in Germany. This is organized. You know, I remember when I first came here and I asked I don't want to put out no names because I don't want to make him look stupid. I asked him, how much protein you eat a day? 8 chicken breasts.
Like, what
How
does
much
that mean?
protein?
Yeah, like,
How much protein? It was like, yeah, how much is a chicken breast? It's like this big.
palm of my
These are the answers I got. I was like, they don't take it serious.
No, they don't. Because
So if you had to paint your perfect partner, what would we have to, I want to know, what would he have to look like? Just for everybody that's watching this, okay, if you don't fit the description right now, don't even bother trying. What would be your perfect partner?
first requirement, I would say he needs to be a bodybuilder.
Okay.
Because
He don't have to be huge. He can just be a bodybuilder, just train. Or does he have to be huge?
I'm attracted to bigger guys.
Okay.
So like nothing against like smaller guys, but to me, I like stronger guys, bigger guys. It's just what attracts me more.
So freaks.
Yes, but it's like
Does he have to be a competitor, or doesn't have to be a competitor?
Not at all. But what matters the most is the heart, because there are a lot of.
It's okay,
guys
but
out
before
there.
we get to the heart, we got to
Let's
get
talk
to the.
about- okay.
You know,
So
I mean, if I'm looking at somebody that looks like, I'm not getting to the heart. It's going boom. That's as far as it goes. So does he have to be tall, short?
It doesn't. I don't care about
You
how
don't
tall
care?
he is. I mean, I would like him to be like taller than me or my
Of course. I mean, because you like to wear heels.
Yeah, like he's the man. I want to feel protected. I don't want to be the man of the relationship. I'm not. I'm the female.
How tall are you?
I'm 5'3".
5 feet?
5'3".
5'3". So it heels you about So you got to be at least 5'9", 5'10", not less. Okay.
Yeah, just taller than me and bigger than me, so I can feel protected and I can feel that I think when you go out with someone, and
Do you sometimes miss going out and having a partner that you can hold hands and walk in the park or go to the movies together?
I like that, but I don't know if I would say I miss it or if it's just like I don't know. I think everything has your time, and to get to where I got, if I had someone by my side. Maybe I don't know. I cannot tell because
look,
never happened.
Yeah, but think about it. It could be someone that supports you 1,000%, who makes sure that the bag's packed when you get ready to go to the Olympia. And not somebody that's in your way. It could be someone that is actually helpful.
Yes.
Kind of like your mom now. Your mom seems to be your biggest fan.
She is.
She's here with you. So someone like your mom as a male version that's just there for whatever you need.
And like one thing that you asked.
I'm trying to hook you up here.
No. But one thing that you asked that I was thinking about, and maybe that's why it's like the relationship with guys that compete or have this lifestyle is not easy because they want someone
a little stupid sometimes too.
Yes. So it's not that I don't get attracted to them, but when I see the way they act with other girls, they are just like going out with everybody, sleeping out with. Like I want someone who looks at me and says like, she's my girl, and I want her. I don't want
You deserve that. You deserve that. Yeah.
Right. So like, it's not a problem with me. Maybe the problem is with the people who are around me, and that they are not like trying to find the right person. They just want to hang out. Especially that's why like I usually don't date people around my age because they don't have the mindset that I have. The
No, absolutely.
that
I can see that because you're too far ahead.
And they're always like
24-year-old boy, you eat him up. Nah, there's no way.
Even like they're always like, if they are not competing, they're always thinking about like alcohol, drugs or stuff. And like, oh, you don't do that? Oh, so you're not fun.
Yeah, you're bored.
And I'm like, I'm not gonna do it because it's gonna make you look at me and say that I'm fun. If it's gonna distract me from my goal and it's gonna just mess up with everything that I've been working so hard to get to. So I think that's one point that people don't realize. They're like, oh, maybe you're too OCD and people cannot like take you. No, it's not me. It's just for a bodybuilder, that's normal.
Yeah.
I'm not asking too much. I'm just asking to be,
right.
respected and admired.
You're looking for Mr. Right, and and you absolutely have the right. And I'm sure after this airs, I'm sure there's going to be a few guys messaging you, sliding through in the DMs saying, "I fit the description."
You know what's the problem with the girls nowadays? Is that they don't love themselves. I mean, what I mean by that is that they cannot be by themselves. They always need a man by their side, even though it's not the right one, they're like, oh, just temporarily, let me have someone just to have fun or to fulfill my crave, whatever it is. But that's not the thing, like, okay, why would you do that if you don't have long-term goals with them? It's just like,
yeah, but maybe they do have long-term goals, but after a week or 3-4 days, they find out this is not the one. Sometimes
and then they
happens.
change every week.
Yeah, well, they're still looking for Mr. Right. But it happens. But I understand your situation. For you, number one is the sport. For you, number one is what you've been doing since you're 13 or whatever. And keep doing what you're doing, because I know you will succeed. There's no other way. There's no possible way for you not to succeed. Thank you for... She brought me a gift, okay? And I said, can I open this? There's 2 in there.
Yes.
There's 2 gifts that she brought for me, so I feel very special right now. Which one should I open first? It doesn't matter?
Doesn't matter.
Okay, I'm gonna go with the soft one. This is the first time I get a gift. I'm not used to getting gifts from Rio de Janeiro. This looked like, there's a little money pouch.
Yes.
So I got that. And I love Rio. Ipanema Beach was my favorite beach, by the way. Yes. And here we got something that's a little harder. I'm gonna open this. And again, Rio de Janeiro. What this is, like a cup?
Yeah, for you to put your drinks. Now you can drink your crystallize, your alcohol.
You will see this on this table where my cup will be on top of it, because as you can see, I'm ghetto, and I'll just put it right on the table. We're going to stop that. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you for coming on the show. You are not only the most beautiful one, you're so awesome. I can't thank you enough for coming here and coming on my show, and I know the fans will love it. Thank you. Good luck for your prep. Go get that title, girl, because I want to take you to Germany.
It's my pleasure, and write down my words. I'm going to be in this sport for a long time. And I'm not only here to do like a show or other, I want to create a legacy. Do you see what Arnold Schwarzenegger did? That he came from another country, he didn't speak the English, and look where he is today. Look how many lives he inspired. I'm going to do the female version of him.
There you go.
And I'm going to make you proud. So
we're looking forward to it. We can't wait. Absolute my pleasure. I can't wait. And we'll bring you back on, too, after you win the Olympia.
Yes.
You got to have another sit down.
Yes.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Thank you.